they're selling cheap, they're cutting some kind of corners. No, the actual answer is everybody else is making boatloads of money.
That is ballsy, dude. That's ballsy, and that's calling people out, and I like it. All right, guys, so today we're going over a video that we saw on the State of the Second podcast. It's basically put on by Gun Owners of America. It's very cool. Stick around if you want to hear what he has to say about getting some stuff out there that's a little cheaper. Before we get into this video, we want to thank our sponsors, fattack.com. It's where you can go and find everything if you're a big guy for the tactical sense and you want to find it all in one spot. Fattack.com is where you're going to go find that at. You can also check out our merch at ballisticink.com. We have everything with all of our logos and all that stuff on it. It's very cool. We appreciate the help there. You can also check out US Law Shield. That is where you can sign up for US Law Shield and get 14 months for the price of 12. It's like $10.95 a month, and you have a lawyer in your pocket. It's who we're using on our court case right now, and we can tell you they do what they say. Go check them out, uslawshield.com. Let's get into the video. This was on the State of the Second podcast. They had on the CEO of Palmetto State Armory, the owner. Stick around, see if you like what he says. Today, we're talking about Palmetto State Armory, and a lot of people have a lot of stuff to say about their stuff on their website. I don't know what we can and can't say here on YouTube, but basically, stuff on their website is very much on the budget-friendly end, and you know, most of it is. And I will say that the owner that comes on here talks about why they are on the budget-friendly side and how dispel the rumors of why it's good or why it's bad. So we're going to get into a couple clips here that we saw on the State of the Second podcast put on by Gun Owners of America and our good friend John over there and his co-host. But we're going to get into him here and let you know what we think. And we're going to roll the first clip.
For an M16, I'm like, why is that $6,000? Because they banned them and they're hard to find. Of course, I wish I had bought all of them at $6,000. And I remember thinking, like, well, why didn't somebody register like millions of them before that happened? And then there would be more available. So that's really the way we looked at all of this, is like all these freedoms could be taken away at any point. So if the vision of our company is to spread freedom, we want to make sure that, you know, if it ever happens and we're like, wow, today was the last day, we didn't expect it. Well, we did our best to get as much freedom out there as possible.
So what I think he's talking about here is basically how back in the day they were banning stuff either before the 94 incident where, you know, it was basically put in the assault weapons ban or whatever. And it was stuff was grandfathered in, but he was asking about why the stuff was so expensive or talking about why stuff was so expensive when all they want to do is really spread freedom and let why people didn't basically put more out there so that they could be reached to more people, I guess.
Instead of just looking at everything as a business decision, like when it's slow, the Trump slump and everything, well, we had machines making lowers, and we could have made a decision like, we're not really going to make hardly any money if we sell them at $29.99. Actually, you're just sort of just earning money, and you can make a decision like, okay, well, we could lay the people off and stop making them until it comes back. But we made the decision, like, no, it's important, even if we lose a little bit of money, to get as much freedom out there. So we kept everything going. We kept everything running, and we just adjusted the prices because I thought, you know, $30, you're going to get people into the hobby that weren't even going to do it because the price of entry is so low. And we did that. We were able to grow, you know, spread more freedom, grow the hobby. And, you know, the AR-15 is like a gateway drug for guns because you build one. And it's like, you think like a 308 hunting rifle. Of course, we all have them, or most people have them. And you shoot it like once a year, right?
Yep.
You know, sight your rifle in, drop a deer, call it a day, right? Well, AR-15, it looks at you and it talks to you, and it's like, build me different.
The thing about it is that, you know, the Second Amendment is not about hunting and that kind of stuff, or just about hunting. It's about being able to protect yourself against basically people, foreign and domestic.
Get another lower. Like the lowers, they sit in your safe and they're like, you need a long range AR. And then you do that. And then another one looks at you and says, I should be a pistol AR. And so you're like, I got to do that. And you can't ignore your lowers, right? So,
that's absolutely true. I mean, the more you get it, it's kind of like tattoos, you know, kind of like once you get one, you're like, oh, that's not so bad. I definitely want to get another one. And what he's saying here is basically with their price point, it's very easy to get into another one and get into another one.
like, it's just fantastic how, you know, and it gets people into the hobby, and building guns is cool because a lot of people, they put more into building them than they do shooting them. And it's great because you think about it, it's fun. You know, there's more people who like to shoot now because of it. It gets people into the hobby. It's fun because not everybody, like say you live in an apartment and an urban area, you don't get to shoot as much, but you can build the guns. And to me, that's like, it's like Legos. And it gets people into new designs, like a dagger, like the original dagger we released had no optics cut, just sort of like a,
Yeah.
more.
So that's one of the daggers that I have, and for the most part, I think I picked that dagger up for right around 350. I mean, so you're looking at what are you thinking about when you go to the gun store and you go to a place and you're looking at an H&K or some crazy amount of money for a pistol. You're looking at $900 or more or whatever. And to each his own, you can do that. What are you thinking when you go there and you have that kind of spectrum? You have something that is around the $900 and then you have something that's around the 350 range. What are you more, if you're not into guns and you're basically a first time buyer, what are you more likely to get? What do you think? And so I think that he's basically saying that he's just providing that here versus somebody that could charge a ton of money for his, for other things. And I think we're going to get into that right here.
Dropped the dagger, which was 2018.
No, it
27?
was 2020. I
Was
think
it 20?
I think 2018, 2019 SHOT Show, we teased it, but I think 2020 was when it actually.
When you're coming up with a pistol design, there's a lot of money that goes into R&D and things like that. What made you go, this is the price point we want to be at? Because you were beating everybody at price point.
Like we said, somewhere around the 350 range for a dagger, original dagger that came out, and they're still not that more expensive than they are now. Like that's about what they are now, and they got a lot more stuff on them now. They got more like optic cuts, they're more colors, they're more they got size differences, so there's a lot to them now versus what they were when they first started, which was just straight black and basically a 19 size. But like again, the price represented it.
And that's with all your stuff. You guys are beating every
Okay,
bit.
so there is in that full disclosure, I'm a CPA. So if I start nerding out on numbers, someone throw something at me. Right? But I'm going to do that. So, all right, when I look at firearms, I look at, we have to cover our costs, right? Because you have to make some money. And then I look at, we have to have a little bit of markup to invest in the next thing. And then, so we put a price on it, and that's the price. And I know what it costs to make things. And a lot of people will say, well, PSA sales, they're selling cheap, they're cutting some kind of corners. No, the actual answer is everybody else is making boatloads of money.
That right there, that is ballsy, dude. That's ballsy, and that's calling people out, and I like it.
Do that. I think you should ask, why are we selling so cheap? The real question is, why are some companies trying to make so much on one handgun? And I get it, they're doing a lot of marketing and everything, but I know what it costs to make the gun. Like we make our barrel, we make our frame. Well, we don't make our frame, we contract that, but we make the barrel, we make the slide, we make most of the parts except for stampings and polymer. We don't do that. But I know what we pay for them is not terribly much. And I look at what people are selling a gun for, like you're keeping people out of the hobby. And I'm trying to get people in. So we have to cover our costs. We have to have some markup, and the markup generally is to invest in the next project, right? Past that, we are not publicly traded. We don't have to return. It's me, Ed, and Julian. Ed, we joke about him. He's the coolest redneck you'll ever meet. Great construction guy, great to have on board. And Julian and I are just huge gun guys, right?
So basically, if you're buying from Palmetto State Armory, you're buying from a homegrown company. They're not something that is massive out there. And I'm not a shill for Palmetto State Armory. I do have some Palmetto State Armory stuff. First of all, they've never sent me anything. They have never sent me anything. They're not sponsoring this video. Like, I just thought that this was interesting on the podcast, on the State of the Second podcast from Gun Owners of America. I thought this was interesting that he was actually out here saying the stuff out loud that, people may or may not want to hear. I think people want to hear this because it's very interesting to me.
Right. And so our thing is if we can get more people to buy because it's a more reasonable price point, spread more freedom, that's what we would rather do. Dagger's a fantastic gun. I could sell it for a lot more. We could make a lot more money. And, I could have flown my private jet here instead I drove, but
dude, that is ballsy right there. And I like it.
But, I just think that if we're going to follow our vision, which is to spread as much freedom, we don't need to mark everything up a ridiculous amount.
That right there, to me, lets you know that they are not out to make a ton of money. They're not out to get rich about it, even though in the spectrum of what you're doing, he is making more money because he's putting it out there for a less, a smaller price point, and people are buying more of it. So, I mean, if you look at it that way, it's kind of the same thing. But he's talking about people actually putting out there the same product. Okay, he's got a Glock 19 clone. I love Glocks. I'm a Glock guy. He has a Glock Gen 3 Glock 19 clone that he's putting out there for $350 when Glock is putting it out there for literally double that. Now, granted, Glock is literally the most reliable handgun out there, in my opinion, but you have somebody that's basically mimicking a Gen 3 Glock 19 and they're selling it for half the price. So, unless you're buying something that is, police trading or something, you pretty much got this at a price point that you're not going to see a Glock at. Let's go with the other clip. Last one.
So that 10% from your literally like your unicorn type 10, 20, $30,000 guns to your, several $1,000 guns is a very small percent. And if you're going to base your company based on that, you're really missing the broader market. And the broader market is your blue collar workers or people that just they might be white collar, they just don't have a ton of money to spend on it.
Or people that have to go out there and get a firearm because of some civil unrest or something that may happen or whatever. So they're kind of scared. They want to protect their family. They're not into guns like most people are that are, like me and other people that are watching this. You're not into it completely. You're into something for self-defense or something because you have to have it now. Granted, I don't think you should do that. I think that you should totally stock up when stocking up is good. I think you should, buy stuff when stuff is plentiful, not when not basically, what do they call that? Like panic buying. But this is for people that are trying to get into the market. And what he's saying is that by doing it at a cheaper rate, you're allowing more stuff to get out there and you're allowing people to get into it who may also later on, because they like it so much, buy things that are more higher end and stuff like that. So we're going to finish this right here.
You can base your sales based on that, and you can provide to them something that they can afford. You're selling and expanding our market dramatically. Like if you're focusing on that 10%, what is the 3% of unicorn guns or 7% of just more expensive guns, it's really hard to expand the hobby. Because if you get someone and like, hey, you should get a gun for self-defense. Here, I've got this $1,500 whatever gun. They're really not going to be interested. You say you should get a gun to defend your family, and here's a $299 reliable gun that could get you started. Now, that's the gateway drug, and I say that facetiously, but that's what gets them started. But then from there, they might get into the higher end stuff. So our goal has been, while we carry that 10% stuff in our retail stores and online, if we can focus on the 90% of people that need something that's affordable. First of all, once you get a gun and once you go shooting, like we've had news people at our stores, and we'll always tell them, we'll let you interview whatever, but you have to shoot a gun, right? And they go and they shoot a gun on the range and like, oh, this is awesome, right? Well, more people that have that experience, more people get into the hobby and aren't going to be scared of guns. Because unless the person's just being, just petulant, I've never had anyone I've gone shooting with that afterwards wasn't like, that was awesome. Like, yeah, I'm going to do that again. They're not scared of it, and it's like an adrenaline rush. And so we're just trying to expand that experience for people and make it affordable. And
so that's my point there, is that basically they're trying to make it to where it's the most affordable for people to get into the hobby. Now, like I said, whether that be for the hobby or be for self-defense or whatever, I think that proves to me that this company is not just about the money, and it's not just about making cheap guns or whatever and just putting out crap. Like if you look at a lot of their stuff, a lot of entry level stuff that people have, the Palmetto State ARs and stuff like that, whether they be pistol or long guns, are actually, you're not going to outshoot those weapons. You're not going to outshoot those firearms. IV88 has done meltdowns on their ARs and stuff, and they've lasted just as long as some of the other competitors out there. 450 rounds, I think, is the one that I saw recently. But I think that the reason for putting it out there is the fact, like he said, to get more people into the hobby and to spread the freedom, basically, and to arm as many people as possible, because it should be that way. So in my opinion, I think it's very cool that he's open about it, that he's very, tell all basically about the reasons why, he's doing it like this. And I think that you can hear more stuff on the State of the Second podcast from the Gun Owners of America. They're all over the place. They're on every platform you can think of. So go check them out if you're into podcasts and you want something to listen to. They have a lot of cool people on there. State of the Second podcast is really cool. I appreciate you watching today, guys. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.